are so excited to be talking with Step Sinatra and Monica Jones again today. We did that a few weeks ago, and by popular demand, he's back. So I'm Janera from Better Spaces, and we are going to be talking about the science behind grounding. And last time we talked a little bit more about the introduction on grounding. What does it mean to Earth, and why is it good for you? And now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the science. And just a reminder, Step is a former Wall Street trader in New York. With the wealth came the stress and sickness, and he got really, really sick. And then he was hospitalized for about 40 days and lost a lot of weight. And then his father, who wrote the book Earthing with another doctor, Dr. Clint Ober, his father's Dr. Steven Sinatra, his father gave him a device to start grounding, and Step has never looked back. I am sure he's going to tell you a little bit more about his background, but take it away, Step and Monica. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, I hope you can hear me great. You can't see me. Why? Because it's windy, very windy in Greece, and the internet is shoddy. It's part of the mysteriousness of living on an island in the middle of nowhere. So we do the best we can, and we have some amazing slides for you. But let me just, at least you can see Monica. So Monica, say hello.
Hi there. Thanks for having us, everyone. We have a great presentation all set up for you, even though we don't have that beautiful Greek outdoor landscape. We're making do with what we have here, given the weather.
So the science of grounding, and it begins. Next slide, Monica. So we can go right into the blue zones for some reason. And for those of you who don't know, this was a landmark book that came out over a decade or so ago, talking about what cultures where in the planet lived the longest and were the healthiest and had quality of life. So some of these are Sardinia. One happens to be near me in Greece, another island. And there's Costa Rica, there's Loma Linda, California, and Okinawa. And along my health journey, I kind of made it a point to visit all these places and uncover what was happening. Why are these people so vital? It was a fun experience to go all over the world and check this out. And what I learned was there's kind of something that they didn't bring up, and it's how the people are grounded. Mostly all of them have their hands in the dirt. And another similar situation is 4 out of 5 of them are on an island in the sea or the ocean. So you're getting there's an essence of grounding that's happening that I don't think the authors were aware of. And this is a paper we're working on. So next slide, Monica. This is the reason that I live on Hydra and the internet is crappy, because I wanted this lifestyle to be connected to the earth and similar to these blue zone individuals that were living over 100 years old and still literally rocking and rolling, drinking wine every day, and talking about sex. That's what they were known for, some of them. So Hydra is this little island in Greece, and it took me 10 years of my life over that to get here, to live this lifestyle and commit myself to being connected to the ground on almost like a 24-hour basis. So for instance, I wake up this morning, I go down to the beach, literally outside my house, and put my feet in the sand. And I get that. And then I also sleep grounded and I have patches. So it's been really a wonderful way to live, but it was hard to get here. But I want you to know that that's how committed I am to sharing this, because I live and breathe this stuff daily. So there's 2 movies that have come out previously. There's now a third. The third one is called The Earthing Movie, and it's got over 2 million views on YouTube. But the Heal for Free, the one on the left, is the one that I was involved in. My story was depicted, and the first movie, Grounded, is kind of what put this whole scene on the map. And the book, what also began the movement, started over a decade ago, co-authored by my father, Vincent, and Clint Ober. There it is right there. All right, beautiful quote by Tesla. So the day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than all the previous centuries of existence. What Tesla's really talking about here is energy, vibration, frequency, and the unseen that's not matter. which is absolutely beautiful. And that's what we're going to get into with earthing. It's really the unseen energy you're receiving on a basis when you're connected. And here's going to be some grounding studies just to kind of give a little of the juice and the bit. And thank you, Monica, for moving this perfectly. You can see that there's 25 studies up so far, and this is only in the past, decade and a half alone, as this movement's quite new. I'd like to go through some of those. So we picked a few to kind of, that are highlights that I think are worth noting. And what these studies really conclude is that there's a mass reduction of inflammation, and you usually only have pain if you have inflammation. This is why people are created such a movement around this. One of the other ones that put it on the map is this improved facial blood flow study. The celebrities kind of jumped on this one, and it accelerated the movement. We'll get into everything else here, what Zeta Potential is. It's really fascinating. Stress, how you can lower stress with the cortisol, and sleeping. One of the best hacks for jet lag, no doubt, hands down, is putting your feet in the grass after you get off a plane. And then the nervous system, how it's such critical for health and wellness these days that I think the entire medical community is almost clueless and missing. It's one of my theories of health. So the earth is a battery. And I talked about this in our last talk, where it's literally, there's a positive and negative charge. And it starts off in the ionosphere, that there's this positive charge way up high and a negative charge on the Earth's surface. And what's happening is these lightning strikes around the equator are charging the Earth. They're just absolutely charging the Earth with electricity and energy. And it's also coming from the sun, constantly providing all of this, once again, electricity. And modern science, in a way, has missed this. Well, I'll tell you why. So your body, as discussed last time, is also an electric being. It's something I want to really prove to the world. Now, we've been living in a Newtonian and biochemical arena for almost the past 200 years. And Einstein's theories are just starting to take off. And the Newton model doesn't really take into account you as energy, the Earth as energy, the entire universe system as energy. It's more of like one thing happens and then there's a reaction to it. Well, that's old physics. New physics, Einstein physics, quantum theory mechanics is really taking shape. And we're going to see this with how the Earth operates and everything beyond that. Dr. Bruce Lipton, he's fantastic. The book Biology Belief is a game-changing book. And he goes into how the Earth is also charged, but you as a body are worth 3.5 trillion volts of energy. That's a lot of energy. I mean, imagine that. But he actually missed something that I'll show you next. And if you don't believe your energy, think about this. You're walking across the carpet, and of course, what happens? You touch a doorknob, ding, you get the sting. That's electric, that little static shock. What's an EEG? What's an EKG? Electrocardiogram, electroencephalogram. Studies designed to measure electric impulses on the brain or the heart, as the heart being one of the biggest electrical organs. And at a cellular level, energy is created from this transfer of positive polarity, negative ions to positive. And your red blood cells, when they're negatively charged, are recorded at minus 20 millivolts. So Bruce Lipton was giving you the 3.5 trillion equation and conclusion by saying it was 0.05 millivolts, when in reality, it's actually 10. So you're about 10 trillion volts of energy in your body, if you can imagine that. And think of your system as in completely electrical. What it needs to do, it needs to connect with that battery we mentioned above. So if there was a user manual for the human body, I'm absolutely positive it would say connect to the power source, the Earth, at frequent intervals. I love this slide. And I was also a winemaker for many years in Napa Valley. The French paradox is one of the kind of stumping blocks along modern medicine, if you remember this. They said, what's wrong with the French? They don't have any inflammatory diseases. They don't have cardiovascular disease, yet they drink a lot of wine and they eat a lot of fat. Well, we'll find out what that is. but I want you to think of your blood as wine. Why? This study by my father, I think, will be one of the most recognized studies in a decade or two, and it will take some time, but it shows that grounding the human body reduces blood viscosity. So what's that? Look to the left. That's your blood if you just take it out, and you literally take blood out of your body and you put it on a slide, and you look at it under light. Sticky blood on the left, blood on the right is thin blood, where there's space between these blood cells. And this is what zeta potential is called, where there's this negative charge that repels these blood cells and makes them fly through traffic. So just imagine you're on that LA freeway and there's no traffic and you're in a Ferrari. That's what you want. That's blood like wine. When it's full-blown locked traffic, this is sticky blood, and it is the result, actually, of this 20th century phenomenon of toxicity that we live in, this soup of EMF that surrounds us that also makes the blood hypercoagulable. And grounding takes this away. What else does it? Aspirin, Tylenol, Coumadin, other pharmaceuticals. Well, you have the best pharmaceutical, and it's right below your feet. That's the earth. That thins your blood naturally. And if your blood is thin, think about it. It's going to all these organs easier. It's getting into your brain. It's going all the way to the bottom of your feet easily, taking out toxins, delivering oxygen. The ramifications of that is health across the board. And this other study, you can see on the right-hand side, after being grounded for 4 nights, how you see the blood flow to red, it's now in the feet, which means no more cold hands, feet. It's creating this thin blood that's allowing all this blood, your 25 trillion cells of red blood cells, that's half the cells in your body, to go where they need to go, do what they need to do, and create healing. So the second study I think was absolutely profound is this one, the effects of grounding on inflammation and mostly the immune system. And modern medicine in the past decade or the past 2 decades didn't even know that inflammation was really connected to disease. And now it's like all the rage in the past 5 years. It's saying, okay, RA, lupus, multiple sclerosis, across diabetes, all of these modern diseases that we're plagued with in the 21st century is really in a way due to inflammation. So where's all that inflammation coming from? Well, once again, it's a toxic world. The list goes on and on upon where that's coming from. And more than ever, we need to be connected with the body. And if you're inflamed, you're creating free radicals. So it's this free radical theory of aging, what makes you age faster. Go back to the blue zones, right? Did they have a lot of toxicity sitting in Sardinia? No. Why? Because they're getting fresh air. They're not getting pollutants. Even the island I'm on in Hydra, it has no cars. Why? That's why I wanted it. So when you get these negative ions coming from the earth, you can put that fire out of inflammation. And think of that as your body literally is on fire. That's what it means when it's inflamed. So you have anything going on, and each person is different. Whatever will get to them. So say you have a heart problem, a lung problem, a dental problem. Anything, the body is so intelligent, it will figure this out, and by delivering the negative ions to where it needs to go. So we're really in the future of energy frequency medicine, going back to Tesla and Einstein, getting away from Newton. And Dr. Schumann came out in the 50s and talked about the magic of 8.3 hertz, which is the vibration, the heartbeat, the pulse of the earth, and how this resonates within you. And you need this energy. We're going to talk about that actually a little bit in the next talk too, and how powerful that is. I had to mention structured water because in the 2016 TEDx New York City event, where my father and I helped promote that and sponsor that one, actually, there was 5 speakers who spoke out about the benefits of grounding and earthing. One of them was Dr. James Pollock, and he made the claim that being grounded actually structures all the water in your body. Well, you're 70% water. And if the water in your body is structured, which means it's actually adding on another oxygen molecule, the water is so much more efficient at delivering hydration to every tissue. This is profound too. There hasn't been a study yet to go into this, but I believe this one is going to be absolutely fabulous. So we all know what happens when people are in space. Well, the astronauts, they come, if they're not, if they're away from the Earth's magnetic field, and they're away from the Schumann frequency, and they're not getting these ions, they actually get sick. So they found ways to keep these astronauts alive and keep them functioning well when they're not. And that's all synthetic, great, incredible biohacking, which, is something to speak about. So Ayurvedic medicine employs earthing and grounding. And I studied Ayurveda for many, many years. I went to school for it. Even Deepak Chopra claims that grounding is definitely one of his 6 pillars of overall health. So in Ayurveda, when you want to get a massage, which they believe is one of the most healing things you can do with these special medicated oils, they put you on a table. And specifically, this ancient 5,000-year-old healing modality, they say that practitioner must be barefoot. So when the practitioner is barefoot and touching you with their hands, that energy is coming through them and into you, literally from the earth. That's how the conduction of electrons can actually happen. So you're getting more than just this like physical aspect of, Newtonian tissue. You're getting energy because you're getting electricity. So I would claim, and this is something that we're also, Monica and I are working on, is that the most important thing is probably regulating your nervous system. And the reason I know this, and I believe this so strongly, is that my Wall Street years kind of took down my nervous system. All the stress, the lifestyle, and my adrenals pretty much got shot. And talking about getting them back, almost no doctor understands this process. But if you lose your nervous system, well, everything can't keep up. Your hormones are off, your cortisol is off, across the board. What's the best thing that helps your nervous system that's free? It's grounding, or you just need less stress. And I know what it's like to be so sick, to have even just the phone ring and it feels like it's a fire alarm because your nervous system is on overdrive. What's happening in the world these days, with obviously we see everything in the world stage with this virus, is that it's putting people into fear and panic mode constantly. You turn on the news, boom, your cortisol goes up. You have stress. And this stress is actually epigenetically creating a future you that has a elevated and sympathetic nervous system. So when the nervous system is stressed, there is no room for healing. You don't digest your food in a sympathetic nervous state. You want to be in a parasympathetic state. That's the key. And getting into that is where we want to really, and that's what earthing does, and it's free. So all these there's a lot of other resources and out there, and there's my father's site, earthinginstitute.net, where he pulled all these 25 studies from, and there's so much more. And if you're going to do anything, I would say watch the Earthing movie. It's an incredible place to start. It's one of the latest additions to the whole arena. This quote by Einstein: "We still do not know 1,000th of 1% of what nature has revealed to us." Let that sit for a moment, because our next talk is going to be about the quantum nature matrix and a spirituality aspect of what we can learn from nature in terms of frequency, energy, vibration. And let's say the study, jam out on you. Well, take away that nature is sexy. You'll remember that because it is, and it's something we'll skip next time as well. What you can do in that situation, that's why we sell the products, or we actually we kind of distribute them from another company. And it's the fact where you can plug something into the wall that I mentioned last time, and it connects through the ground in the building, It
Right.
goes deep in through the grounding, the foundation, and that also is connected to the earth. So you can put pads on you. If I wish you could see my video, I have like a little patch even on my abdomen right now. And I sleep with this patch. I just hook up a little cord to it, goes into the wall outlet. Mine actually goes right into the earth, goes into a grounded stake. So of course there's the products, and then be mindful of the shoes, which we'll discuss in the next one. But you can find, like I said, you can find a leaf on a tree. You can just find any sort of stone outside if you're walking around. You can put your hand on stone. Brick isn't as conductive. You might not want to touch the New York City streets, but if you can find a clean spot, I would do that all the time. I would sit on a stoop, let's say I'm in the West Village, the friend's apartment, and I'd put like my hand just on the stone on the steps, and I know I'm grounded, even in the cold. So you can get that, or take a tub. That's probably one of the best. Just get in the tub and you'll be fine. You'll get a dose. I would say at least every day. And what the studies shown is that really start to get benefits after 20 to 30 minutes. And then after 2 to 4 hours, that's when it really kicks in, especially if your body, let's say, is depleted of these ions, or you have more positive charge. You want to get on the earth to discharge that positivity. I know it sounds contraindicated, and soak yourself with negative ions. So you might need more time.